It's the Channel Mom Show with Jenny Dean Schmidt. We're here for you.
The new year is going to look beautiful on you. How about an age-defying facial with the new antioxidant serum from Lemongrass Spa, where you can have the spa treatment without the spa price tag. Just shop lemongrassspa.com.
Hey, look, if you're tuned in today, and if you're tuned in afterwards by video or via podcast, I have Dr. Eggerichs on because I ache for what's happening to marriages. And I would never say to you that I have a perfect marriage and that it's all sugar-coated and wonderful. I love my husband very much. Have known him since I was 4 years old. A little bit unusual. However, I know that there are problems. I'm not a judger. I'm a fixer. And I want to help people to understand that marriage does make things better in people's lives. You are less likely to be poor. You're less likely to have all kinds of problems if you stay married. I know that there are marriages that need to be gotten out of when there's horrible abuse going on. But other than that, I really have a heart to try to help people stay together, or when they get married, to have a healthy approach to marriage that blesses them. That is why I really, really love what Dr. Eggerichs is about. I think he's landed on the answer for so many people in his Love and Respect book that is widely followed. He has a ton of fans on Facebook. So, Dr. Eggerichs, this love and respect thing, let's explain it briefly again before we get to Misty's question. What happens in America in a couple when a man feels disrespected and a woman feels unloved? What goes on there, and what's most important to each of them?
Well, first, we all need love and respect equally. It's very important that every listener hear me on that. We all need love and respect equally. It is a true need, and it's equal among us as men and women. But we've asked 7,000 people this question. When you're in a conflict with your spouse or significant other, do you feel unloved at that moment or disrespected? Jenny, 83% of the men, 83% of the men said they feel disrespected. 72% of the women said they feel unloved. Now, obviously, there's a percentage of men that feel unloved.
Yeah.
And there's a percentage of women that feel disrespected. There are many times Sarah says, "You're not respecting me."
Okay.
But when we look at these statistics, this is as different as pink is from blue.
Yeah.
And if we don't understand that, then when we get into a conflict, we won't understand the felt need. We won't understand how he's interpreting that. Now, one of the reasons that men feel disrespected is that most women love by nature. Women love to love.
Yeah.
You have to wound a woman at the level of intimacy to get her to stop loving. My dad attempted to strangle my mother to death. And they separated and divorced, but then they reconciled. But then she separated another 4 or 5 years because of Dad's rage issues. And then when I was 11, my dad committed adultery. So I understand abuse. I understand these issues. But even my mother was instrumental in bringing about healing in that marriage later on. Mom and Dad came back together, and we're very grateful for that. But my point is, we all need love and respect equally, but men filter this thing through a different grid. And we are at a point in the culture where we've removed this idea of respect for a man from the marital radar screen because women have said, well, Dr. Emerson, I have to be honest with you, I don't feel any respect for him. It'd be hypocritical for me to show it when I don't feel it, and I'm not going to be a hypocrite. He certainly hasn't earned it. He doesn't deserve it. He certainly isn't superior to me. I'm not inferior to him. I'm not going to feed his narcissism or his ego. I really think this is what it is. I'm definitely not going to give him license to do whatever he wants to do. And I'm not going to come in with pom-poms as a cheerleader and just praise him. I'm not going to lose a sense of myself or a sense of my identity or be a doormat or subject myself to emotional abuse. But other than these things, Dr. Emerson, I'm really open to hearing what you have to say about this.
I'm going to interrupt you and say thank you for being real, Doctor. Because there are, of course, that's what women say, especially in this particular culture.
Well, and I point out, how many of you have sons? And usually at our conferences, and we're going to be in Littleton February 8th and 9th.
I know I'm going to promote that again, but yes, thank you for mentioning.
We have people raise their hands. How many of you have sons? And, of course, everybody raises their hands. And I say to the women, what I just went through, that mantra, is how that sweet daughter-in-law, who's filled with love for your son, but that's going to be your attitude toward your precious baby boy.
Yeah.
And he's going to shut down. And then he's going to be labeled as unloving and narcissistic. When the fact is, men serve and die for issues of honor. We saw that in Aurora, where those 4 boyfriends in that theater, when that man opened fire, threw themselves on the body of their girlfriends and died in their attempt to save their girlfriend. Men serve and die for issues of honor. It's not a narcissistic thing. It's a thing that compels us to give our very lives. But we have a huge misunderstanding. So what happens when his spirit deflates during conflict, it's so easy to dismiss him as childish or narcissistic because she wouldn't deflate over the thing that he's deflating.
Yeah.
But the same thing, she deflates over things that he thinks, come on. So he buys her diet book. She goes ballistic, right?
Right.
Because if she bought him a diet book, he wouldn't be bothered. Thanks, what's for dinner? At the same time, she buys a third marriage book, and he refuses to read it. Why? Because he hears a message in that marriage book, the third one. I don't accept you. I don't approve of you. I don't respect who you are, Buster, unless you change and become more loving like me.
Yeah.
And so we have these vulnerabilities, and where he has vulnerabilities, she has natural strengths, and vice versa. And what happens, we tend to pass judgment on the other as childish because their spirit deflates over things that the other wouldn't. So he's feeling disrespected over an issue that she thinks is ridiculous. And she's feeling unloved over an issue that he feels she's just hypersensitive about.
Yeah.
And we end up passing judgment on this good-willed person, and thus the crazy cycle spins. Without love, she reacts without respect. Without respect, he reacts without love, and it spins out of control. And then people are confused, and they feel they made a mistake. But they didn't make a mistake. They're experiencing what we all experience, and we have to learn how to decode and jump off that crazy cycle.
Yeah, and I'm going to get to Misty now, but I want to say, first of all, I watched you, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. I don't remember exactly when this came out. When did the book come out?
2004.
Okay. So I watched you on James and Betty Robinson. I watched you on Life Today, I think.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I have since been taking your theory, the love and respect. It's not just a theory. It's got a lot of proof behind it. Out into society and watching my girlfriends when they complain about their husbands, or watching men when they're hurt in front of me, and I think, oh my gosh, this is very true. Now, as you said, there are some women that feel disrespected, some men that feel unloved, and I get that. But universally, it tends to be the other way, that men react when they're disrespected and women react when they feel unloved. And I appreciate that. The thing I want to say before I get to Misty is, to me, we have devalued humility in our society. So it is very hard for a woman to say, yeah, I'm going to respect him, because suddenly all those things she's been told about being an equal and wearing the pants and being able to be president if she wants to be and all those things, she thinks those things will be taken away if she shows respect to her husband. And it's not a mutually exclusive thing. But I think that the humility thing has gotten so downplayed in our society now that people can't just say, yeah, I want to lift up my spouse to give them what they need before demanding what I need. And right?
Well, yes, and we also make a mistake in thinking, and this is where women focus, and we've done this now for 12 years, if there's something that he's done that's not worthy of respect, it's very difficult for her to feel or show respect. But one of the points we make is this isn't about him deserving respect. This is about her communicating her disgruntlement respectfully. In other words, no human being responds to contempt.
Yeah.
And this is partly what you're saying, how did we come to a point in the culture where we believe that if I feel contempt or disrespect, I can display that toward you? But that's comparable to a husband being harsh and angry with his wife and saying, let's have sex.
Yeah.
You cannot use unholy means to achieve worthy ends. No husband feels fond feelings of love and affection in his heart toward a wife he thinks despises who he is as a human being. And when she communicates that she has disgust toward who he is because of certain actions, that's the same thing as him saying, I hate you because you are anorexic.
Yeah.
And these are issues that we have to step back and say, you know what? I cannot come across with hostility toward my wife and expect her heart to soften or to connect. You cannot come across with contempt and expect your husband to connect with you. It's not going to happen. So now we have to ask ourselves, am I giving away the store? Am I letting go of my power? Am I letting go against a sense of self and identity? Am I giving up something? Am I forsaking the feminist team because I come across respectfully as I communicate the things that upset me?
And it's a form of love. It's a form of love. Misty, on the line, and I know, Misty, that you have a question for Dr. Eggerichs, and I want to get to it. We only have about 5 minutes left in this segment, but please ask your question, and he'll answer it the best he can, and we can maybe carry it into the next. Welcome to the Channel Mom Show, Misty.
Hi. Well, I first just want to say my husband and I have both, we watched the Love and Respect series, and we both loved it a lot. My question is, with the respecting, and, if I feel unloved, how can I better show my husband the respect? I know that he deserves it, but if I don't feel that he deserves it, is there any scripture you can refer to? Or, what's the best way for me to continue to be respectful to my husband and make sure that he feels respected? And, but my love tank, so to speak, is definitely empty, beyond empty. And I just don't know. Sometimes I feel like I just can't go on.
Oh, sweetie, is it empty right now? Is that what you're saying? Sometimes it's...
Yeah. I just feel, I'm so sorry.
It's all right,
feel
sweetheart.
Like I've really conveyed myself to him, and I feel like I convey those feelings in a respectful way, but it's like he hears me, but he doesn't do anything about it. And I really feel like some of his recent actions are not worthy of respect, those actions, but I know that he is worthy of respect. And so I just want to know how I can still be respectful, even though, I guess it's kind of a dumb question. I don't know. I just feel really unloved, and I feel very insignificant to my husband.
Misty, stay here. Okay, will you stay with me?
Yeah.
Because I want this to be a conversation now, because this is important, because you're hurting, and I'm so sorry. It makes me want to cry. Dr. Eggerichs, you have about 3 minutes. I want you to talk to what she said, but then I want to come back with her in the next segment so she can ask you a follow-up question. Is that okay?
No, that's very good. First of all, there are things that a husband does that are not worthy of respect, and we shouldn't feel respectful toward things that are wrong. And so one of the points that needs to be made is that if you're trying to conjure up feelings of respect in the face of something that's not worthy of respect, that would be inappropriate. The issue is, how do we address these issues in a way that he hears your heart? And I'm going to assume that your husband has basic goodwill.
Right.
If he doesn't have goodwill, then, if he's betraying you, he's committing adultery, there's an affair going on like my dad did toward my mom, then that's going to break down the relationship. This doesn't work when there's ill will. If we're married to Hitler's distant cousin, it's not going to happen. But if there's basic goodwill, then oftentimes men tend to stonewall and pull back. They're not as communicative. They're not expressive, responsive. And so it's difficult for a woman to feel that she's getting through to her husband because he's not connecting, he's not communicating, he's not talking about his feelings. But sometimes that's rooted in his own insecurity and his own fear, and that his silence doesn't mean that he doesn't care. His silence is he's leery as to what it is she's going to say to him. Oftentimes when a wife is communicating her need for love, he's hearing the message, I don't respect you because of this. And so it's a difference of perspective. She's crying out for reassurance, but he thinks she's using this topic as another opportunity to send him a message that she doesn't like who he is and that he's unacceptable and she doesn't approve. So part of this tactic here is to say to him, how can I communicate to you my need for your love and my need for your strength without you feeling that I'm communicating a message of disapproval? How can I communicate to you these things in a way that does not make you feel that I'm trying to send you a message of disrespect? I have a need that only you can meet, and I'm reacting this way because I need you to meet that need. But somehow I think when I say this to you, you think I'm sending you a message of disapproval. Can you talk to me about how to do this in such a way that you reassure me of your love without me sending you a message that I don't like who you are?
Right. And I'm going to interrupt you there because we need to go to break, but I'm going to come back with Misty. And Misty, thank you for your honesty. You're precious that you've been willing to share this. And are you willing to wait for 4 more minutes till we come back?
Yeah, that's
okay.
fine.
So we'll come back with Misty. We'll come back with Dr. Eggerichs.